Welcome to Beyond Musical Sounds, and I'm glad that you have joined us for all the previous episodes. We have explored music and money, music in the family, music in the cradle, and today we have yet another interesting topic. But before I tell you what the topic is, of course, let me welcome my favorite person on the planet. That is my loving husband. Andrew, please say hi to us.
Hey, how are you today?
I hope I am fine, but I am very fine.
Welcome back to the studio where we discuss beyond musical sounds.
What do you want us to discuss today?
Today we're just going to look at the music of the day. How does the music sound out there today?
Exactly.
What is the current trends in music?
Yes, we will be discussing the current trends in music,
Yes.
and as usual, he loves inviting guests over, and I'm glad to host them every time.
And
So
today
who's our guest today?
we have a very trendy guest. You will be impressed about him. And he has come with a wealth of knowledge. This young man owns a school. I'll tell you which school that is. His name is Aol Onyango.
Okay, a music school, you mean?
Yes, we're going to talk about that. Would you please say hello to your audience before we get into the subject today?
Hello.
All right.
Okay.
You can take us through. I think we are ready for your trendy subject.
All right, and just like you have noticed, you know, when you study music, music has had different periods. Yeah, like from the medieval period, which was...
What is that?
It's a musical time in history where the songs were just chants. Yeah, so people would sing things like dear God, the song sounded like this.
Joey.
Yeah, so that is how all the songs
I'm trying to
sounded
think
like.
of what a chant is.
Yeah,
All you must have chanted at home, isn't it?
and of course there
The
was
Lord
periods.
chants a lot. Do you chant?
I used to do it, but
You will-
Yeah,
So after the medieval, that was chanting.
and then there was periods like the Baroque period.
What's that
yeah?
now?
Now, the Baroque period was another period of history. I won't go into the details of some of the things that were there, beginning with the instruments that were used, how
Oh, that's the time now they
concerts were
started
held. Yeah.
bringing in concerts and musical instruments.
Exactly.
And all
Then-
the way until today. I thought of something in the trend of music way before the 1800s. Music was written maybe for the praise of a king, of a person of nature, and things like that. Then came 1950s and 60s, where there was a big transformation in music history, beginning with Alexander Graham discovering the gramophone, which was used for recording. But then during that time also was the secularization of music, where with the help of Aleister Crowley, there was an introduction of certain secular aspects into the music. Earlier, if you had a music talking about a person, a music talking about a God, they would sound really the same. But today, as we speak, the music has come to a point where, I ask myself, there is quite a lot. There is quite a lot going on.
True indeed, but I like to say that there's always been, you know, more of sacred and secular music all through history. If you look at the Bible, the Israelites asked at one point, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
That means there was division. There was secular
Yes.
and there was the Lord's song.
So all through time, all through the, you know, historical periods of music, romantic period, the 20th century music, jazz period, yeah, up to our current day, there's always been secular and sacred
A good
music.
distinction.
And the reason is, I guess, because there's always good
And there's
and
always
evil, right from the foundations of the world. But now, what trend do you see today in terms of themes when it comes to Christian music? What have you seen?
Maybe before I say what I have seen, our guest, this young man, he interacts a lot with musicians. He even trains them. I don't know, just broadly, what are some of the things you see going on in music, maybe that has caught your attention, that has concerned you, some things you have liked, just generally what you have seen?
music is a very wide field. We have had several trends coming in.
Yeah.
One, you look at today's normal Sabbath worship services, you would see people would want to listen to music that is one recorded
Okay, so there's an increase in recorded music.
Yes,
Okay.
who would want to perform, have some background music playing, and
Yeah.
would want to sing
Mm-hmm.
along with the music playing.
So there's a rise of sing-along music. You want to take note of that. We have to discuss. That's an important trend.
Yes.
What else have you seen?
We have seen most of the churches, people don't want to sing in the congregation.
Yes, yes.
They would want to
listen.
to listen.
Yeah,
they
it's
would want more of
performance.
listening.
Yeah.
They would want to see performances. They don't want to participate in the congregational singing and normal worship sessions. So they would want to know, to just sit, finish, and go, and talk about the experience after that. What did you experience? It was awesome. It was beautiful. But in real sense.
So the other thing is experience.
Yes.
Okay, and what are some of the things that feed into experience? Because of course today people want the experience of music, you know, more than what the music is speaking about.
Let's start with the culture we live in today. Our culture is fragmented, disintegrated, disconnected, disembodied, dismembered.
Everything.
Yeah, discordant. The child does not even know where his father is. The father does not know what his son is going through. The wife and the husband are disconnected. It's called postmodernism. It is the epitome or the hallmark of the thinking of today. Postmodernism has many things in it. Number one is people are not connected by anything. I only relate with you as I want. There is no absolute truth. There is no center. So because we have lost important things that keep us together, that keep us upside up, that's what I wanted to say. We've lost things that keep the integrity of the human being. People are breaking down into stress and all this, and so people have a large appetite for experience. People are coming from one emotional high to another one without questioning. There is lack of meditation. People don't like things that are causing them meditation. They want feelings. They want feelings from one high to another. Now, the postmodern culture also has another problem. They are a centerless culture. There is no God inside. There is no truth inside. Your truth is your truth. Your God is your God.
So relativism is what you're referring
that
to.
That it is.
That there is no black or white.
No black or white.
If red is red to me, it doesn't have
can't
to be
red. Yeah, it depends on your context. So you can say, okay, you guys have a God, and that is your problem. For me, there is no God. You guys believe that the premarital sex is sin. Now that depends on where you grew up. And so there is no truth, and there is no Bible. The Bible is actually just one of the many books. But you know, friends, truth is defined in three ways. One, Jesus is the truth. He is the absolute God and creator. He says of himself, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Then the Bible is the truth. Says thy word is truth. Sanctify them by the truth, John 17:17. And then, of course, we know the law of God is truth. So there are certain laws that have been set aside, which are not necessarily the moral laws, but they are musical laws that we have set aside. And the trend is we are a haphazard people. We are a disconnected people. We are really the incarnation of atheism. Today, people wake up and they can question God on their face.
Now, speaking about relativism, how would you say music is affecting doctrine? Now that, you know, your truth is your truth, mine is mine. Yeah? How is that affecting doctrine?
Music in our church is peculiar. It's different from most of the churches that we have around. We have standards that have been set, and these standards must be met so that our objective, or rather the objective of the church, is met. So we need to ensure that there is literacy. So our objective here is to ensure that the person who is singing, the person who is listening, is trained to know exactly what he should do to make it right, to make it correct, so that it doesn't go against the doctrine.
So that doctrine is what I'm still asking about. How do I know what is correct? And how is the music helping me to know that this is correct, especially in a world where if grey is grey to you, mine can be charcoal grey, ash grey.
Music will not help you know that, because music will propagate what I already know. Okay. Music in itself does not stand to teach you. Music tells you what somebody else thinks. Yeah, a composer putting out his words, that's how he sees it. A composer picks a song, maybe you know the song, he says, immortal, invisible. You know that song?
Immortal, invisible, good, only wise, in light, inaccessible, hid from our eyes.
So that's the musician's conception of God, and you can tell what is he informed. He's informed from the Bible. He reads from Timothy, which says God only is the one who has immortality. But another composer comes in and thinks everyone else has immortality. It only depends on where you're looking at it. And people think that when you die, you go to heaven. So that's what I'm going to write in my music. So what I believe is what trickles into the music. But what he said is important, and I would like to trail it from him now that he's interacting with the training setup of school. You say there are certain standards set by organization, like the church. Our church, for example, uses the SDA hymnal as the baseline of singing. That SDA hymnal has been, first of all, selected based on doctrine, based on appropriateness of the music, associativity, and all the many things have been checked in. Though the last time it was reviewed was by Wayne Hooper in 1950. I think we need another revision by musicians that maybe you can comment if you have a revision. But the question is, how effective is training to bring up people to understand music as something that puts its hand into today's trends, into today's conversation, so that when I am speaking as a musician, when I'm composing as a musician, first, I am correct. Number two, I am technical. Number three, I have followed all the rules, and that I can shape the conversation much better than just leaving it where it is. How effective is training to achieve such ends in today's music?
Basically, we have standards.
Yeah.
Just talk about standards that are set. The church is giving us standard. One, we have to know that we are doing a ministerial work.
So it's ministry.
It is ministry.
To serve others.
To serve others.
Right.
We are spreading the gospel.
Evangelism.
It is evangelism.
I like that.
So everything that we do within our training, within our normal setup, the end result should be
to make people be servants.
To make people be servants
and
also spread the gospel.
So how do you achieve that? What are the kind of trainings that you do? Let's talk about your school. You are still in campus, and yet you have already started a music school called, what's the name of the school?
The Premier Academy of Music.
The Premier Academy of Music. That looks a big name, my friend. I like the name itself. That is really premier. You are teaching people on what, number one?
We teach music theory.
Music theory, what does that entail? How
music,
to read music?
Basic knowledge, how to read music, how to interpret music.
So what's a scale, what's a solfa notation, if I've been thinking of those things?
Is that knowledge relevant?
Is it relevant? Who needs that, by the way?
I need that as an individual, as a trainer, to be able to interpret a piece and teach someone who doesn't know how to interpret. That is number one. Number two, I need that knowledge as a chorister or
so
as
trainers,
a singer.
Choristers need it. Singers also
need it.
Yes.
So that we don't spend 5 hours or 6 months training one song.
Do you think a pastor needs that knowledge?
Does the pastor need that knowledge?
The pastor needs the knowledge.
Yes.
Because
I also agree.
I'm going to preach as a pastor. And I have a song that I want the congregation to sing. Maybe because they are not all trained and they don't know that song, it is a song that they have never interacted with. So as a pastor, you need the music basic knowledge so that you can interpret the song
and even see if the mood of the song fits into, because theory has a lot to do with dynamics. You remember some of the dynamics you learned in school? What were those? Poco, apoko? Those words. I didn't learn that. So you do music. Andante. That's at a walking pace. I remember that.
You do music theory. Then we do voice lessons,
training.
Voice training.
I like that now. Now
we train the voice.
Yes.
There's someone who has never been exposed to music.
Yeah, these people whose voices are not outside
the
keyboard.
They say it's outside the keyboard, but as a musician, I know
you can bring it back.
Is within that keyboard.
So you can bring it back.
Bring it back
to teach him to order it.
Exactly.
What do you teach in vocal practice? I mean, in vocal training, you train about.
We ensure that these people understand how to preserve their voices. We call it vocal care.
Vocal care.
Healthy voice practices.
But you also do instruments now.
Exactly.
What instruments do you teach?
We do violin, We do the guitar, we
Yeah.
do the piano, we do the
Oh.
saxophone, we do the
Right.
trumpet, we do the flute, we do the recorder.
Wow.
Yes, we do the clarinet.
All right,
Yes.
allow me to interrupt at this point and just, ask both of you.
Mm.
When it comes to the current trends in music, this same knowledge is what musical schools had been teaching
Yes.
all along. How is that knowledge relevant to the ministry today? When you teach me about vocal care, when you teach me about, all these solfas, how is it relevant for my day-to-day living in the 21st century? Because nothing has changed about the scale.
Yeah,
Since
it's still the same
it's
scale.
still the same
You
scale.
see, the conversation here goes like this.
Mhm.
First, I said in one of the shows that music has had a transformation. One, it was secularized before commercialized. And then they stopped music language, teaching the literacy at some point. So if something is commercial, people need it. But what is the form in which it comes up? So anybody, as long as you can make, you can press a few things and they sound, whatever Aaron was doing with the golden calf, you drop it in the fire and out comes music. So people don't know what it takes to develop music. Softwares have come. Those are trends that are actually challenging the original source of music. Now, music was never meant to be created out of computer softwares. Music was meant, even if it might pass through there, but its origin is supposed to come from a human being. You cannot originate music you can't compose. You can't let a software compose for you. For a composition is out of my experience. The guy who wrote "Oh Lord My God," I don't know if you know that song. Then sings my soul, my Savior unto thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. That guy wrote the stanza of that song and left it for years. Then he came back to the chorus. Experience. Where do you think he was? He must have been out in nature.
Yes.
So what I experience, and today our life is about experience not being personal, experience being something I get from, an environment.
Now, let me ask about that experience, because many young people will come today and say, your music yao siifeel, your church yao siifeel, yeah? What is this feeling or experiential religion that, many people are attracted to today? Is it necessary that when I get to church, I must feel the music? There are people who change churches because, in that church, I just don't.
Roho. You can tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
About music performance, when we do music theory, especially in the normal class setting, we teach what we call performance direction. That is now what dictates the coordination between the listener and the performer. The listener must give a feedback, and the performer must be able to see that feedback. So if I sing, I'm supposed to, one, use dynamics. I'm supposed to use facial expressions. I am supposed to use maybe there are certain things that you have to do to ensure that your music comes out as it
With
was
feelings.
intended.
Yes.
Yes.
But
The listener will get it from you and will be invited to
join in
concentrate,
the
to
experience.
join you with regard to how you perform.
now,
or
is that
you
our
present.
calling as Christians? I think about the life of Jesus when he speaks to the people around him and he's like, you guys, you're just looking for a miracle, yeah? Unless you see, you are not able to believe. And that is what Jesus would tell his disciples. Is that the type of religion music has made us downgrade to, that unless we feel something, unless we hear something, then we're not able to believe?
I think we need to look at it this way. Where is experience generated? The 144,000 in heaven have an experience that nobody else has. And the Bible says these are they who have then at least what they have been doing every day. So what we forget is that music is not performance.
Okay. What
When
then
you
is music?
perform, you're actually acting. when you train me how to look like, how to create people to sing, how to whip emotions. And that's what people are looking for. Make me feel good at that point, then I go back to my stress. So
And
it's an opium.
what are some of those ways in which choirs and performers...
I will tell you many of them. Number one, just the normal music, but the volume is so high, the volume is so high that it actually disorganizes your senses. A large bass experience, too much of rhythmic music, you'll find it just causes you to want to move. So when you are doing the where that for me, you know, there's just a sound when you put, you just go you know, you just feel like going, something like that. So when you add those elements to the music that only appeal to feeling, then you rob music of its intent, because music has a part which is really not a feeling part, but it's a moral part. It's a mental part. It's a higher function than just feeling. What out of your music is that? That's why I appreciate the people who take time to train. Because
wait, let me interrupt at that point, because it's not just the beats and everything. Sometimes I find acting. You know, you've seen people acting.
Yeah, you act and
you
put
throw
your...
you say Jesus is coming, and you want to illustrate it in signs that are not really sign language.
Yeah, I saw a vocal choir. I think we were with you. A vocal choir. It was not even the acting, but the way the conductor was doing his conducting. You know, and people loved the conductor. You know, because he had a way of doing his gigs on the
like he's breakdancing when conducting.
So people loved that experience. It could be just a cappella, but the manner of performance. So even the manner of the performance.
How about crying on videos? You know, I've seen people who, you know, you're told you must cry. This thing is very emotional. You must show it on your face. Yeah, it's not really tears that are coming from within, but even if it means cutting some onions to generate
and then you put it there.
the tears.
I think most of our choir members, they get it wrong from us. As a trainer, I would tell you to ensure that you understand what the song entails. You understand the theme and the message, so that while you sing with understanding. So sometimes most of us, I think they overdo it. Yes, they sing with too much understanding. The extent they close their eyes and they even cry.
Let's define the word understanding. You know, in the cadre of wisdom, knowledge, skill.
Now, I want you to hold that definition just a bit so that we start from here and define what singing with understanding is. That's where we're going to start from right after this song. We'll sing the song Face to Face with Christ My Savior, and then Andrew will define for us understanding. What is singing with understanding? Right after we come back. Okay?
Face to face with Christ my Savior. Face to face, what will it be? When the rapture I behold Him, Jesus Christ, who died for me. Face to face shall I behold Him, far beyond the starry sky. Face to face with all His glory, I shall see Him by and by. Only faintly now I see Him with the darkening between. But a blessed day is coming when His glory shall be seen. Face to face shall I behold Him, far beyond the starry sky. Face to face in all His glory, I shall see Him by the crooked ways are straightened, and the dark things shall be plain. Face to face shall I behold Him far beyond the starry sky. Face to face in all His glory, I shall see Him by and by. Face to face, oh blissful moment. Face to see and know. Face to face with my Redeemer, Jesus Christ, who loves me so.
Sing along with us from home.
Face to face shall I behold Him far beyond the starry sky. Face to face in all His glory, I shall see Him by and by.
Join us right after the break and we get back to the point of understanding. What does it mean to sing with understanding? Right after this break. Welcome back to Beyond Musical Sounds, and today we are dealing with current trends in music. And just before the break, Andrew was describing what singing with understanding is.
It's my friend Aol who used that term. He said people over-understand. So they whip emotions, they cry, they do funny signs, and all these things. You know, understanding comes from what you have experienced in real life. You can't be taught that. It can't be passed down from your father, nor even from the choir trainer. It's how you see life. When your father... when you lost your father, you know, does the song, does Jesus care when my heart is pain, does it start making for you your own personal meaning?
It only makes sense when you've had...
When you have a, that's called a understanding or experience. So that's the definition. So I think we need to focus not on training people to act or to, you know, bring out the theme of the moment and then after that it fades away, but to take the music. You know, at the tail end of my choir training experience, I stopped training people songs. I told them what I'm going to train you is to become musicians. A musician is somebody who brings his experience into sweet music. The bad things that happen to you to things people want to listen to.
Okay, and earlier in the show, you had mentioned that one of the trends you've noticed is people in church are singing with pre-recorded songs, and they want to...
Backup.
Yeah, backup. Why do you think people are singing with pre-recorded music? What's the need? What need are they meeting by using pre-recorded music?
Now, we realize that because of lack of enough training, our members are not trained and they're not given enough facilitation when it comes to presentations. They are not inducted and told that when you are presenting, this is what you are supposed to do. So they don't have the confidence to use their natural voices. They don't want to use the natural voices because the confidence is not in them.
Confidence.
They are not trained to be confident to sing with courage.
Exactly.
So they lack training sessions, and we have shifted because of the current trends. We have shifted from live music because we feel that music that is refined, that music from the studio is so sweet, and that is what we have to listen to.
What we want.
So we would want to listen to that which is sweet, that which is refined. As if I take it to another maybe area, someone would want to eat food that is already refined. You don't need to spend a lot of time to cook it.
To cook it.
So it's just there. You just put some water, warm water, and it is done. So
Okay.
people would want music that has been recorded. They just accompany it, and they can move around with it. You know, the live music, it's hard to move around with
yes,
it because
it is hard.
there's nothing in the background. That is, yes.
What is said is a good balance of it's being fueled by one, the inability of the choir.
Yes.
They don't know vocal culture. They were not trained. They were just told a few words. We're going for, these things of training for recording.
Yes.
So the other thing, they had never known how to project their voices. They have never known how to work with an accompanist. They have never, one of them has never taken time to learn piano. Then the second direction is the congregation itself fuels it, because we're the ones who want the music the way we listen to it on CD. We don't want anything less if there's some wind, if our PA system is not good. And I think that's not good. We need to encourage our people to have practical experiences with God. If you were to come and put your accompaniment and just sing along with it, it would be boring. I can listen to that in my car. I want to know, why are you singing? But you don't throw away the accompaniment. There are tracks you've developed from studio. So if you come from the studio, you may, if you're a choir, there's no need of even using a track with voices. What you can do is cancel all the voices, use the track if you don't have the accompanist.
Let me just wonder aloud. Could it be that the music is just reflecting what we have in society?
In life.
Because in life, if I need to warm my food, I don't need the whole process of looking for firewood and lighting and getting a pot and warming the food. All I need is microwave, and I turn it on.
Honey, what are you saying? Are you saying people who sing with backup music are lazy?
No, what I'm saying is that the music perhaps could just be a reflection of the society that we live in.
Of not wanting the process.
Yes, of not wanting processes in life, The shorter the process,
the better.
The better, yeah? But it robs us of certain advantages, like which one?
The advantage of you expressing what you're feeling at that point. Of having a current, present day worship. Our subject today is music of the day. So the question is, if I wake up next week, what music will be in my heart? Is it thanksgiving? Because God, it's like that girl I tell you about who struggled to do her devotions every morning. So she struggles in the morning and she succeeded. But in the evening, it was a big problem for her. So she goes and starts to pray in the blanket, she sleeps. The next day she says, now I'm going to pray kneeling on my bed, she sleeps. So the third day, you know what she does? She writes the prayer next to the wall and pins it there in the morning. Then in the evening, she showers and gets into the bed and says, oh Lord, our Father who art in heaven. Then she points at the wall.
There is the prayer.
Yeah, the joke of that prayer is, how did you know in the morning what you will pray about in the evening? We need experience. So if I've gone through, somebody could be in that choir who wants to cry. And the music is talking about laughter. We laughed in the studio. We must laugh every day. And I don't think that is genuine. The other thing is a running away from authenticity. There's nothing wrong with my music not being totally. We sang here, the face to face. It was live music. There are times a little mishap here, a little mishap there. That's the nature of all men. Yes. Sin brings in imperfection. So that's something we experience.
All right. So we live in a very competitive society, a capitalistic one. How is this mirrored in the music of today?
If let's even pick it from where we've left. I don't know. Have you seen people wanting to pay for music, or they want to take it for free? They want. I wanted to ask him that question earlier. Now that you've brought it, have you seen people? They don't want to pay for music. They want to pirate. They want it easy. They don't want to go through the process of training. You are asking them for 500 bob to train them for I don't know how long. They're like, that's too much.
People want what they can do fast, something that I would call shortcut.
Shortcut. That's capitalism.
You don't want to spend. You don't want to do anything that is that will require you to toil, that will require you to do something beyond what is expected. You're supposed to get enough resources to ensure that you can bring in the music that we want.
That you want. Yes.
We have to ensure that we train people, and these are skills that are not just gotten from anywhere, but people who have gone to school.
They are
These people have
specialized
spent money to learn.
to acquire the
learn.
skills.
So they would want appreciation.
Mm.
They would want they would want you to acknowledge
They have
that
a
they
life.
went to school and they can assist you. So you must be able to spend in order to get the right music or the
Okay.
standard music.
So what I've observed, I don't know if you have observed it, where you have one choir in one region producing an album. Then
The rest of the choir.
rest of the
Now
choirs
that's-
also produce an album. Or one choir decides to design a uniform.
The
And then the
rest-
next youth choir also picks the same design and takes it a notch higher. And if one, does a very powerful music launch, the next one says even ours.
The next
you know?
week will be a series. That's
Yeah.
what is capitalism in competition.
Yes.
Capitalism is the opposite of communism.
How does the church fuel this competition or support competition in choir?
Let me not get to how the church does it. Let me give you the structure of communism. Communism is where all this belong to our common good. If if a hall has a music school, it's our music school. We support it. We take our children there. All the instrumentalists want to work from there. It's a common good. But in capitalism, it is mine. I want mine. I want to make my profit. I mean, it's competition. You guys shone ama mulishine. Sisi pia lazima tuwaonyeshe. So it's showdown. And the church could fuel this in its normal lifestyle if they raise choirs that only look out for trends without looking for evangelism. What are the trends in evangelism? What can our choir do unique that the other choir cannot do? It's your choir that is in that area, and that choir you are mimicking is not in your area.
Now, do you think that the hosting of music extravaganzas and music festivals sometimes fuels competition between choirs?
People don't host music extravaganzas definitely for competition. There are even competition festivals, which we have a session to talk about. But competition in itself is not good for music.
Okay.
In whether it's the church that hosts it or the group that hosts it, whatever we call festivals, the kind of intentions we put into it, most of the intention is below what a Christian is expected to do. There are people I have found with good intentions. We are hosting a festival to raise awareness on a certain issue. So anybody who can sing about that issue, whether you are children's choir, because where do we involve children in these competitions?
Now, speaking about issues when it comes to music, we've seen several genres through musical history.
Right.
Now, in the current Adventist church, there is, a new genre of music. Some people call it vikanyagi, and
Others call it
experiential, music. You want to march a little bit, camp meeting can't end
Yes.
without
That's
you
a current trend in music,
Yes.
actually.
marching. What do you think about this trend of music?
As a musician, I look at the members and I realize that we need to focus on evangelism, and our church leaders must take this serious, because from the leadership, no one has ever stood and said that this that we are doing is wrong. It is done, our leaders are there. So I'm feeling that before I go to the choir as a technician and enlighten them, let our leaders
But-
speak it at their responsibility.
But what is wrong with it? That's what I'm looking out for. Do we have biblical bases or spirit of prophecy bases for saying that this is wrong or this is right?
we have a basis for why it is a current trend,
Okay.
because it was prophesied that in the last days, before the close of
Exactly.
probation, there will be noise, dancing, and shouting in music. That music will be made a snare in the way it is presented. So this is the work of the devil. Let's start from there clearly. So yes, we have a guideline. We know who is the author of confusion in music, and most of this music is sensual, and things that are sensual are not spiritual, because the opposite of spiritual is carnal. To be carnal is to be in the flesh. Okay? You can't tell me if the music just makes me to walk. And people will argue with me. What about marching? Marching is for pathfinders. Why do pathfinders need marching? Because there's a specific discipline training of bodily learning, and they have a curriculum. What has an old woman whose body parts are even unproportional to do the marching to do with the marching? It's even shameful. It's not dignified. And so when we don't speak and know that the enemy is the one that brings all this confusion, the sensual music, we will be lost. Leaders need to know, and they need to search out biblical precedents, even the marching and dancing of David. It's in the Bible. It is well classified that he was out of the temple, he was celebrating, and there are celebrations where you even march.
So should we celebrate, march at a wedding? I am not in church. I am
That's
just
that's a
outside.
very good question.
But I'm Christian.
We have seen the celebrations in wedding.
Yes.
I have seen my old mother who cannot even stand, or old mamas who cannot even stand to and even follow any rhythm of any music. When they see their daughter being, wedded, they get very happy, and they stand up and they ululate. And people have natural ways of celebration. Celebration is ingrained in us. Whenever the wedding ceremony, whenever the church setup, whenever the concert or anything brings in a music of the form that creates dancing, then you label it celebration, then that is off. Now, the last thing I would like to say is what causes the quote-unquote celebration type music. It's the construction of the music. It's simply borrowed from the world. It has the form of the world. It has the face of the world. You start hearing it. Sweetie, 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 haikuwa rai. The music bed itself tells you it's not about sweetie, sweetie. It's about movement. So let's move. So I would not be offended if I walked into a church and somebody played that music and people danced because they did the right thing. My offense is this, that people are being taught to be hypocrites. If you want to take away the dance from the music from the church, take away the music from the church. Let the music be cleaned up. One of the ways of changing that trend is through training, and that's why we have.
So what I hear you saying is that the
investment.
problem with that is that it creates a lot of lust, or it builds the lustful part of human
The
beings.
sensual part, yes.
And that from a spirit of prophecy perspective, marching, dancing, and throwing yourself into
undignified gestures is not after the order of the gospel.
Exactly.
Okay.
It is worldly.
It's worldly.
All right, I hear you clearly. And lastly, as we finish, we see a new form of recording patterns. I don't know if you have interacted with studio people who, when you go recording and they notice your choir is not so good, have you noticed that all choirs sound the same nowadays?
Every choir has a good voice.
Every choir just sounds
As we
the
used
same.
to struggle to produce good
Even
voice.
the ones with old people
Yeah.
whose voices have cracked somehow.
In the university, we had good voices, but at some point there was a voice tenor or bass that was struggling. So each year you find you got good sets of sopranos, but when you go to tenors.
So what do you think of that trend? What exactly is happening? What's a trick? How come every choir is sounding the same?
Let
What
him
are you
start,
guys
then I
doing?
can tell you.
There is a trend in the studio. We have the technicians. They have people who are just there, standby.
Like a studio choir.
As a studio choir, they are there for hire. So you go with a group of people, and you have them to sing. Your technician, and you realize these people cannot sing. Then there is a backup here. You get them. They sing for you.
You pay them?
You pay them.
You write your
They
name.
go their way. You go with your choir, so that when you sing with the backup, the response from the congregation is like, these people sing so well. But one thing that you've said that most of these choirs sound the same is because
The
the
same
same
guys.
people just do the same recording
For the other choir.
That is what is happening.
So would you call that being like cheating in music?
Choir
What
for
do-
hire.
what do you
That's a
think?
good sermon. Choir for hire. You see, I'm trying to look at where we've started, where the discussion came from. People are lazy. One, spiritually, they don't want to look for their own bread. They don't want to feed themselves spiritually. So they depend on the pulpit to feed them. Interestingly, there is a drought in most pulpits. So the drought has also come to music. Okay? Nobody teaches. That's why I'm so happy if we got someone who can want to teach. They don't know how to produce voices. They still want to record. It's cheating, just in real sense. You go to the studio. Did you know that I spoke with a friend? He says that is what we do here. He's a studio guy. He told me that's what we do here. And now you know, if you sound too good, better than you sounded.
The studio guy did something.
The studio guy did something.
But you know what? God wants to hear your voice.
Yeah.
However little, however cracked, God loves to hear you.
Mm.
You
See.
personally. You can put your name in there. God loves to hear you sing.
That's true.
And it doesn't matter how good the studio sound is, God wants to hear your experience today.
But by all
And
means,
so-
they need to practice so that they have a good voice.
Of course, you may want to practice or join a school. And today, as we finish, I want to invite you to sing along with us. There's a song that says, Whispering Hope.
Mm.
God whispers a hope to every choir, to every singer, however little your voice is, however cracked it is, God still gives a hope for all of us, and He wants to hear you sing. Will you sing for Him today? Tuna makao mbinguni, alivyosema Bwana, anatutengenezea sisi tumwaminio. Sasa wakati wa giza, tungali tu maskini, kesho tutakwenda kwake, tutajirike huko. Kwake Yesu tuwe pamoja naye, furahini, furahi milele. Thank you very much for being our guest today. And we want to continue to encourage you to join us each and every time when we have this show Beyond Musical Sounds. Till next time, keep your eyes on Jesus. God bless you.